Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of the new and improved Deep Dives with Dollface podcast. We were also talking about that maybe we are going to change the name to the Dubs and Dollface podcast because
hopefully, so I've got. A
his microphone works this time.
So yeah, the only way is up now.
Yeah, while we were filming the other episode, and obviously as I was editing it, the only thing on your mind was you can't hear me.
Lucy, you can't hear me.
Well, we fixed that problem now. You're not just...
And I've got an orange one.
Yeah, so he chose that,
I really wanted the orange one.
That's not what I gave him.
I got black, grey or orange. And
that's what he voluntarily picked. So,
yeah.
Each to their own. Now people can't bully me for giving you a crap microphone because you have the exact same one as me. So, with just an orange head.
Orange head.
So, today's topic is a little bit more heavier than the previous one. I mean... Every topic that involves true crime is a bit more heavy, but
close to home.
Yeah, definitely. This one we're gonna deep dive into UK politics, especially 2016 UK politics, which are kind of
sent us down the fucking gutter. We're still not back.
Yeah, we could have learned a lot.
We'll never come back.
Yeah, and because 2016, for those that don't know, was when Brexit happened. No, we don't. So today we're actually going to talk about the murder of MP Jo Cox, who was a Labour MP, who was murdered by a man in the street. It was also labelled a terrorist attack because she was murdered. She was murdered for her beliefs and her politics in broad daylight.
In front of constituents.
Yeah, in front of people. You know, the attack was witnessed by people. Just, broad daylight. Truly, truly scary. So without further ado, we're just going to jump into today's case. I feel like I'm going to be narrating the majority of this because...
Yeah, we've planned next time it's going to be like the inverse of this, really.
Yeah, because I've done the script for this one, but you've done the script for the other one.
So it was a race of who would finish first.
You will be chiming in a lot because politics is more your forte than it is mine. So... What can I say? So, first of all, I feel like it's important to obviously talk about Jo and who Jo was. So, Jo was actually born Helen Joanne Leadbeater, but she preferred to go by Jo, which was her middle name. And she was born on the 22nd of June, 1974, at the Staincliffe Hospital, which is in Dewsbury, to parents Jean and Gordon. Now, her beginnings for a politician were actually relatively humble. Not like Sir Keir Starmer, who is currently in the government today.
The Labour Party.
Yeah, Jo was actually, brought up normal. For example, her mother was a school secretary and her dad was actually a toothpaste and hairspray factory worker.
Well, Keir Starmer's dad was a toolmaker, remember? Yeah. You can't forget that.
How could I forget, of course. Which... when I was reading that, I was like, toothpaste and hairspray, they're made in the same factory. That's kind of...
Chemicals and shit, I guess.
Chemicals, yeah. That was.
Maybe it's like 1 week he's on the... I banish you to the hairspray department.
Yeah. She was raised in a town called, and I quote, Heckmondwike, which is a town in West Yorkshire, which is about 9 miles south of Leeds. Now, UK towns are known for having peculiar names, aren't they? But that one, I had to, break that one down in my head before I said it out loud.
And it's probably not pronounced that way.
Probably not, so I do apologise for that.
Probably pronounced like Steveville or something.
So, Jo attended Heckmondwike Grammar School, where she did really well in school, and she was even head girl. And during her summers, she actually worked packing toothpastes at the factory with her dad. Yeah, which is great. And then after that, she went to study at Cambridge University, where she studied archaeology and anthropology until she decided that she fancied a change, and she went to social and political sciences and graduated in 1995. So this woman very clearly knew what she was doing. Yeah. Educated women, and we love educated women.
Has the background for somebody who makes sense.
Yeah. She even then went on to study at the London School of Economics, which
makes her even more impressive.
Yeah, she honestly just sounds gutted. It's very clear that Miss Jo Cox was a very, very educated woman, to say the least. So after she graduated, she decided to sort of go down the politics route and was looking for jobs in Parliament, and she kind of wanted to become an MP. That was her aspiration, and she managed to get a job as an advisor to the Labour MP Joan Whaley or Whalley. You know me with names, I'm not very good at pronouncing them. And this was from 1995, so as soon as she graduated to 1997.
She was from Cambridge University, so that's the shit you get.
Yeah. She then became head of key campaigns to Britain in Europe from 1989 to 99, and this is a pro-European pressure group. Do you want to explain what that is?
But yeah, essentially it means that whilst we were still in the EU at that point, EU was always a decisive topic, hence why it ended as it did.
Yeah.
So she was very much solidifying herself as very pro-Europe, so that's why she joined the party.
Yeah, she used it that, like, instead of Britain being independent, she wanted Britain to work with other countries and work in unison because she believed that you work better that way. United, which, fair enough, good for her, because she's absolutely right. Yeah. So before moving to Brussels to spend 2 years as an assistant to Glenys Kinnock, who was the wife of former Labour leader Neil Kinnock, who was a member of the
incredibly
European
recent Labour leader as well. It was only a few years prior. He did fuck up. He got a bit big for his boots, and that's why Labour failed in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He was also Welsh, which probably didn't help. The media thought it was funny. Yeah.
So, from everything that I've read about Jo Cox, she genuinely seems like a really sweet, kind, down-to-earth politician, which is very fucking hard to come by these days. Yeah. There's not many of them
especially in the Labour Party.
Yeah, there's not many of them that are like this, but everything about her, she always is doing the right things. She was
very consistent.
Yeah, she was very consistent. From 2001 to 2009, she worked with and for the charity Oxfam, which, if you don't know what Oxfam is, like if you don't live in the UK, Oxfam basically provides aid during various global crises and is known for, like, helping the poor. Like, Oxfam have, like, charity shops, and
they're extremely pro-Palestine. It's their big thing right now for obvious reasons.
So was Miss Jo Cox.
She was
pro-Palestine.
Thought it was in the media circle. Which is kind of the point.
On it, yeah. Her work with Oxfam, which she met in disadvantaged groups in Darfur and Afghanistan, influenced her political thinking. So again, she did so much work for charity, and her charity work led to a role advising Sarah Brown, who was the wife of former Prime Minister Gordon Brown that we had in the UK. And she was spearheading campaigns to prevent death in pregnancy and childbirth.
Which was a big Brown thing.
Oh, yeah.
Brown himself... blindness in children was his big.
Really?
Because he had to deal with it himself, yeah.
Oh. She worked for many other charities such as Save the Children, the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and the White Ribbon Alliance for Safe Motherhood. Again, she just sounds like a gem of a human. Like, how...
She had her loyalties in the right place.
Yeah, this is what I don't understand about, like, people that hate people that work for charities. How can you hate her when she's putting all of her time and effort into helping others?
And all the charities line up. Like, it's not like she's hopping between gigs to kind of get moral.
Like, she's not being a grifter, like you see today.
She's going, I'm going to support this mother charity, and now I'm supporting the children's charity. That's the same thing.
Which just makes this case even worse, because everything I've read about her...
It makes the motive more...
disgusting.
Not understandable, but clear is probably the right word.
Yeah, she just sounds like a really kind and sweet woman. And in 2013, she founded UK Women, which is a research institute aimed at meeting the needs of women in the UK, where she was also the CEO. And beyond this, Jo was also a family woman. She had 2 gorgeous kids and a husband who she married in 2009. And I think around the time of this murder, her children were either 2 and 5 or 3 and 5. So she had young children.
Yeah, there's never a good age to lose your mother, but...
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Well, no, but like...
But being so young makes it so much worse.
Babies, yeah. So, if you're not really familiar with politics in the UK, Labour at the time was left, wasn't it? Like, it was left-leaning.
Not to politicise the podcast, but as it should be. You know, it's the Labour Party. It's not some neoliberal scam like it is now that abandons its own people. But yeah, Labour was just recovering from the 2015 election the year prior, in which also left leader Ed Miliband, unfortunately, in a bit of an embarrassment, failed to capture votes and failed to win. He did better than they did in 2010, so he was doing it, but at this point Labour thought, we need a change. So they ousted him, and they took on the much more left-leaning, vocal socialist Jeremy Corbyn. And at this point, Labour went traditional routes, going back to the left, and was just going that way. Wanted free education up until 21. Healthcare was going to completely change and all of that. And Cox herself lined up very similarly to Corbyn, and I imagine if she kept going, she probably would have gotten status to some level.
Oh, yeah. But I feel like also the thing with Corbyn was you either loved him or you hated him. I feel like
you
there
either
was
loved
no
him
in
or
between.
you read the media about him.
Yeah. It was one of those. It was, a time.
But yeah, 26 years we mentioned was also the Brexit referendum, which came about because in the 2015 election, David Cameron, the Prime Minister, kind of said, I'll create an election on leaving the EU if you vote me back in. Just as some desperate ploy to not make the far-right party UK independence.
Yeah. But what...
And then it happened, and look at this dickhead.
Yeah.
He didn't even want to leave. He left because he was embarrassed.
But also, for those of you that don't know what Brexit meant for the UK, it was basically, to dumb it down as simple as possible, because I don't really understand it either, but what it was... I can dumb it down
if you want.
Well, yeah, go on then. You take
It was just cutting off all economic ties with Europe and kind of going, we'll cut them off and then we'll rebuild them and make them stronger. But no, you fuck them off, they're going to fuck you off back. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. All it means was everything was more expensive.
Tensions were also very high. Like, I remember, this is going to sound so weird, but I remember having a conversation with my art teacher, because I was in school at the time. I remember having a conversation with my art teacher about it, and she was like, yeah, no, we won't leave. And I was like, but why? Because I was like 13 at the time. I didn't understand it, because people were telling me, no, this is a good thing, you should stay. And people tell me, no, this is a bad thing. But 10 years ago, 13-year-olds weren't as politically educated as they are today, because it wasn't as much of a clusterfuck as it is today. So it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't as big as it...
I mean, this was the point. 2016 was the point in the Western world for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the United States, it was the Trump year. Then in Europe, it was the Brexit year.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brexit dominated political discussions since 2015 onwards, really. Yeah. But due to Cox's past that we've just disclosed, she very vocally was against it.
Yeah.
Very vocally on the streets, being like...
Think of it, the only thing I can describe it as is Brexit discourse is the same as the Muslim discourse, is how that is today.
They were very intertwined.
Yes, but I kind of want to say people weren't as racist, but I feel like that'd be a lie, because people probably were, but it still wasn't as accepted to be racist as it is today in the UK.
I mean, I'm just delving into a fucking mid-2010s political podcast now, but I still blame the pro-Remain campaign.
The what?
The people who wanted to stay, they fucked the ball on that.
Really?
At no point was there ever actually an argument other than just, we're not the racist ones. Guys, just fucking stand your ground, please.
Yeah. So Jo did so much for her career, as if what I've already mentioned wasn't enough. She did so much more. For example, she campaigned for a solution to the Syrian war. In October 2015, she actually co-authored an article in The Observer with Conservative MP Andrew Mitchell, arguing that the British military forces could have helped achieve an ethical solution to the conflict, including the creation of civilian safe havens in Syria. So she was just like, guys, can we all just get along?
If we want to be the protectors of the Western world, why the fuck do we not protect the world? Was kind of her point.
Yeah. And during that month, Jo launched the all-party parliament group, with Friends of Syria becoming its chairlady. She was also very pro-Palestine, and she called for the lifting of the blockade of the Gaza Strip, which was happening at the time. And as mentioned previously, Jo was very pro keep the UK in the EU, which at the time Britain was obviously leaning towards that not being the case. It was explained in articles that, quote, she saw the EU as a vehicle of peace, cooperation and human rights protection, and not just an economic project, which is how...
Which is right.
Which is how a lot of other politics were looking at it.
Look how human rights discourse changed as soon as we left the EU. Now human rights is up for debate because it's woke, liberal, lefty.
Yeah. Her stance was rooted in the belief that Britain's strength came from engagement, not isolation, which is again what I said before. She wanted countries to work together, not against each other. And this was a vision that directly clashed with the nationalist and anti-immigration sentiments that, were growing at the time, which they absolutely were. So, yeah, I've said it countless times, but I'm going to say it again. This woman was an angel, and that's very rare for a politician in general, but she was real as fuck.
Yeah.
She would be turning at the state of the world today.
Especially the state of her pie.
Yeah, she would
Well, it won't be her pie
She
anymore.
would be disgusted. Genuinely, this woman would be disgusted. So now we jump to the fateful day, which was the 16th of June 2016. And this was just
right
before...
around the corner of the referendum.
Yes, a week prior to the Brexit referendum.
Something she
was very passionate
was probably
about.
one of the most outspoken, not irrelevant politicians, but
she was...
You know, she wasn't leader of the Labour Party, she wasn't anything like that.
But she was known. She had followers, she had people that knew her. Yeah, she wasn't some niche politician that not many people know about. She had a little bit of... name
because she'd only been in since 2015.
Yeah.
And she'd been gaining a name just for this.
Yeah. So... while Jo was on her way to meet constituents at a routine surgery in Burstall, West Yorkshire, now, just for context, because I didn't know this, I had to Google it because I was very confused. A surgery, in reference to, like, Parliament and to government, is an open meeting where residents could talk to her about local issues, and this was going on at the library.
Yeah, they do this regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, a certain MP from Clacton-on-Sea, you'll never see him in Clacton, but... yeah, it's just a meet up, you know, and then they'll come on, they might be like, oh, we're getting a lot of roadworks in this area. Low level, nothing important.
Of
just,
course,
you know, doing your job as a representative.
Just raising issues with your, like, local MP
because obviously it's their job to listen.
Yeah. However, before this would occur, Jo would be attacked just outside the library in Market Street in broad daylight. Now, she would be shot 3 times and then stabbed 15 times during this attack, with witnesses and people seeing this go on. And the words, quote, "Britain first" and, quote, "This is for Britain, make Britain independent," were screamed from the attacker as this was carried out, which is very similar to what we hear today.
Yeah,
with,
there's nothing that says Britain first, like stabbing a representative of the UK who was born in this country in broad daylight.
Yeah. And as this was going on, people were, you know, very quick to jump in, like, as you would anyway. And a 77-year-old local man, who was later identified as a man named Bernard Kenny, would be stabbed in the stomach while trying to defend Jo and fight off this attacker. However, he did later survive the attack. But
77.
77, this guy, this absolute legend, came in and was like, oh, hell no, I'm not having this. He did later survive, but Jo, however, would not be so fortunate. Another witness managed to knock the perpetrator to the ground briefly. However, he just got up and continued the assault until Jo lay dead on the floor. He was not giving up, no matter what. So... after he's carried out this horrendous attack, people are watching it happen and, you know, seeing the devastation that he's left behind. He calmly stood up.
This is just at like midday.
Oh, yeah, this was before 1 p.m.
I mean, it's an empty surgery. They always happen around midday, yeah.
He stood up, wiped the blood-stained knife on his rucksack, popped it in the bag and just walked away like nothing happened. He didn't run. He didn't say anything. He just walked away calmly, as if nothing had happened. And Jo would be rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately she would pass away from her injuries at just 41 years old. Now, luckily, police were very quick to make an arrest, as a witness who had saw the attack actually just calmly followed the attacker, keeping their distance, but just... I'm going to follow this guy. I'm going to follow this guy because he walked away so calmly. There was no reason.
He was not going to bring attention to it himself.
Yeah, he was like, okay, I'm just going to walk this way. And he obviously reported this back to the police, and the police found him about a mile away from the murder scene after this had happened. And when he was arrested, his words to officers were, quote, "I am a political activist." And when he asked his name, he replied, "My name is Death to Traitors, Freedom for Britain." Nothing screams freedom for Britain like stabbing a woman in broad daylight.
He was elected by British people.
So when they searched this person, police found a knife and a gun in the bag that this person was carrying. And they also found an ID, which meant that they were able to identify this man as 53-year-old Thomas Alexander Mair, who was a Scotland-born unemployed gardener. So who was this man? So Thomas Mair, well, Thomas was born in 1963, and when he was a child, his family moved to Burstall, West Yorkshire, which is where Jo was hosting this surgery. And he'd lived there since he moved there as a kid, he stayed there. He didn't move. He didn't go anywhere else. That was where he was. And he was the son of a man named James, who was a machine operator in the local lace industry. And his mother, Mary, was a factory worker, and he also had a younger brother. He attended local college growing up, and he was a mature student. He spent lots of time volunteering as a gardener. He would attend a centre for adults with mental health problems, as, you know, a majority. And you know what? What I will say is it's quite a big step for males to accept help when it comes to mental health. You know,
yeah,
this
it's
was
still
like...
a conversation now, but this probably was in, 2010? This would have been before.
Way before. From my research, it was clear that he attended it throughout his, like, early 20s, upwards
which
until
at this
he did
point,
what he did.
Nothing seems up.
No,
you know
nothing
what I mean?
seems up. Like, lots of people, lots of young men grow up with mental health issues. You know, that's not really a red flag. It doesn't really mean they're going to grow up to murder someone.
It's not a red flag to, go to someone.
No, absolutely not. It's not a red flag to seek help. And that's the one thing
Probably
that
more of a green flag, to be fair.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I can say he did right. He tried to get help. That's the one thing I can say. And throughout his life, Thomas suffered with many mental health problems, which, of course, is many such cases when it comes to things like this, because a lot of perpetrators do, which is why they're quite easily manipulated. And they fall down
people who don't care about you.
Yeah, they fall down the right-wing rabbit hole. Not excusing anything that he did, of course, but this is why he did what he did.
It's always the most vulnerable who are taken advantage of.
Absolutely. He reportedly suffered from anxiety, depression, and obsessive-compulsive traits, so OCD. He was described as quiet and reclusive, with no previous run-ins with the law, which is quite rare in cases like this. Like, to say that's his first crime.
Yeah, for somebody who manufactured a homemade weapon and shot an election representative dead in the street.
He lived alone. He had no girlfriend. He had no friends. He was just sort of a recluse guy.
Which, once again, he doesn't have outside influence. He doesn't actually know what the world is like.
Yeah, clearly not. He rarely... But what was weird was it's reported that he actually rarely spoke about politics to anyone he actually knew in real life. People came out and later said that. However, seemingly unbeknownst to those around him, he was very, very, very far right. Very far right. Over many years...
We're talking, the most you can be.
Yeah,
the most you can be without throwing your hand in the air, you know what I mean? But he probably did.
He probably did, after what I'm going to tell you, because Thomas had accumulated a collection of far-right literature, white supremacist materials, books on the Nazis, German military history, Holocaust revisionism, and extremists, there we go, texts, which, Nazi memorabilia really screams Britain first.
Holocaust revisionism, the most heinous act ever committed in Europe.
Really screams Britain first. That's what I don't understand. How can you claim to care about your country when you have Nazi memorabilia?
Hundreds of thousands of British people died in the fight against fascism in the 1930s and 40s.
So, obviously, as the investigation was ongoing, in his house, police found Nazi memorabilia, including a Third Reich eagle ornament with a swastika, Nazi badges, rune stones, that kind of stuff. We're not talking an odd doodle in a book. We're talking about...
or maybe he owns one piece, but he also owns other World War II stuff. So it's a bit up for interpretation, but this isn't. No,
we're talking a whole collection. And he was reported to have had contact with and made purchases from foreign far-right groups, notably the US-based National Alliance, over the course of decades.
Yeah.
Which, again, Britain first, but using a US group.
A US nationalistic group that won't care about you.
Yeah, it's one of those things, in it, where it's like... you haven't even, I don't want to say done it right, but you haven't even practice what you preach.
You're not even consistent.
You're not even consistent.
You're scum and you're not even consistent scum.
These purchases included publications such as, quote, the Impoverished Munitions Handbook, which was a manual on building weapons, and other white supremacist materials. And it seems that he had developed certain beliefs over a long period of time. For example, that white people were under threat, which a lot of people in the UK like to play that card.
Yeah, they'll have the paradox of we are the most superior race, but also every other form of ethnicity is keeping us under subjugation.
Oh my god, a mosque being built, my religion is under threat. Yeah, tell me the last time you went to church. Yeah, you're not religious, bro. Tell me the last time you said a prayer.
Churches are closing around the country because we don't
because
care.
None of yous go. Because no one attends church. It's just a dog whistle phrase.
It's always the church goers who are actually the most polite people you'll meet on occasions.
Well, the majority of them. The majority of them. Some churchgoers are the most evil people I've ever met, but the majority of them are pretty
really nice.
Yeah.
They always throw me off how nice they are.
Yeah, it does catch you a little bit off guard, doesn't it? And he claimed that liberals, or left-wing people, the media, pro-immigration or pro-EU politicians
Nothing says education like getting liberalism and leftist politics confused.
Yeah. And he claimed that these were traitors. Again, another word that we hear a lot of today.
Yeah.
That, people that don't
want to benefit society
are
traitors to your race.
Or collaborators with those he considered enemies. So he saw Jo Cox as one of these traitors when all she did was look out for people.
Well, it's because of a lot of the work in the Middle East and all of that stuff, it's the traitor for working with Islamists.
Genuinely, all that woman did was
help children in impoverished areas.
And apparently that's bad. Which, it's so infuriating, isn't it? It really is. Yeah. But how easy it is to fall down the rabbit hole of far-right discourse online.
I mean, there's all those things, isn't there, where people get a new TikTok account or a new YouTube account, and they'll see how long it takes to get Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Or like a Farage edit.
I mean, I'm quite lucky that I've not really come across anything like that on TikTok. However, the other day we did come across a video about someone that was like pro Charlie Kirk.
Oh yeah.
The mint tea thing, whatever it was, on his birthday.
No, it was the Starbucks thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was when they ask your name, it was we. A Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, that was the only thing that's come up on my feed, and I was like, what? But then I went to the comments.
Charlie Kirk doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
Leaked documents are showing that as soon as he started speaking about Israel, he got hit. So we'll leave that one up for interpretation.
But yeah, I went to the comments of that video, and then I was like, oh no, it's fine. Everyone in the comments had the same confusion I did as to why this was coming up on my feed.
It'd be reaction images.
Yeah, just people be like, why am I getting this? But
like, even if you agree with it, don't. The fuck are you doing? Why are you getting another man's name at your Starbucks order? Also, I thought conservatives hated Starbucks.
Oh yeah, no, that's like the boycott, isn't it? So they do, because a lot of
they went back, didn't they?
Yeah, a lot of left-wing people boycott Starbucks because of that.
The correct opinion on that is if you want good coffee, don't go to Starbucks anyway.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, support local businesses, guys.
Yeah,
support local. They'll have better cakes.
That's very true. But
probably the same price as Starbucks and 3 times the size.
You've got a point. Yeah, I agree with that. So, jumping ahead to the investigation, police were pretty quick to tackle this down as soon as possible.
Which honestly, for the British police system, they locked the fuck in for once. They did,
for once, yeah. You do have
I'm not going to jump ahead, but they got honoured. They got honoured, didn't they?
Yeah. Yes, they did, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Like, still ACAB, but also there have been times where police do lock the fuck in, and I respect that.
Probably because it was a white representative of the UK.
Yeah, I mean, they should do it anyway,
yeah,
for all cases.
If this was a single Muslim mother, they probably wouldn't have cared anywhere near as much.
That's very true, yeah. So, during the investigation, they found computers and USB drives containing digital evidence of Thomas's radicalization. So his browsing history revealed that in the days and months before the murder, he had searched things online for, quote, Jo Cox MP, how to make a gun, and assassination. So on the 15th of...
Which he's really not covering his tracks.
No, of course not. Well, the thing that proves that he'd thought about what he was doing, he'd actually researched all of this in libraries and not his own home because he knew it would end up getting back to him. But obviously it got back to him anyway, so it doesn't matter. His attempts were in vain.
Murdered a woman in broad daylight in front of
his attempts were in vain. So on the 15th of June 2016, the day before he murdered Jo Cox, Thomas Mayer actually visited an alternative therapy / wellbeing centre in Bristol. And he apparently...
Bristol?
Not Bristol, in Birstall.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
Just fucking
sorry,
out.
my bad.
That's a trek.
Thank you for calling that out. He apparently sought help for anxiety and stress, and he was asking about, medication and how he can handle this feeling that he was having.
Which makes it feel like so close, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It could have went down a different path, but alas not.
That same evening, he seemed uneasy but polite, according to witnesses and people that had, seen him at this welfare centre.
I mean, it's a welfare centre, isn't it? That's kind of probably what you're used to doing
you
anyway.
Expect, yeah. And he'd even arranged to return the next day for further support, but of course, he did not show up. Instead, he carried out the attack that he is unfortunately known for. So investigators found that, like I said then, he had visited local libraries multiple times in the days leading up to the murder to use the computers and to do all the research. He also looked up timetables to track Jo's movements and her appearances. So he'd researched and known that she was going to be at that library.
This feels worryingly extra. This is your MP. It's not hard to find out where they're at.
I mean, I guess so, but he was so meticulous about what he was researching, and he was also looking. I just
imagine it was in the paper and on her Twitter and Facebook.
Well, yeah, exactly. He was also looking up local surgery schedules for her
constituent.
Yeah, meetings. Yeah, that second one, for those meetings. And he was also looking up information about MPs and their voting records, particularly relating to immigration, Syria, and the EU. And, we all know how Jo felt about all of those things.
And
so
we can guess how Thomas feels about all of those things.
You can imagine why, in his fucked up head, why she became target number one. He also researched, now forgive me because I am going to mispronounce this name, not on purpose, just because I'm a little bit thick.
Do you want to just pull that one over? I can.
Andreas Breivik.
Oh yeah, he was the Norwegian terrorist, wasn't he?
Say the name for me.
No, I'd imagine it's Anders Breivik, but either way, he was a Norwegian terrorist who I believe drove into a crowd of people.
Yeah, it says here that he killed...
like a white supremacist action,
He killed 77 people in 2011. I did not know it was that many. And Dylan Roof, who was the white supremacist who murdered 9 African Americans in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015.
That was the one that started this whole American experiment.
Yeah, police concluded that Mayer viewed these men as inspiration or martyrs for his cause.
Nothing says Britain first, Norwegian and American
nationalists.
Foreign
terrorists. Yeah, and I don't doubt for a second that he saw these people as inspirational.
Oh, no.
Absolutely, that's what he's doing. Psychological assessments found that while he did obviously have a history of mental health issues, notably depression and OCD, which half of the population suffers with, and they don't do things like this.
And either way, those aren't going to be, that's not impulsive.
Exactly. But regardless, it found that he was not delusional and very fully understood what he had done.
This was months, wasn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt, he knew exactly what he was doing. And initially, police treated this incident as a homicide, but within 24 hours, it was reclassified as a terrorist act, given a clear political ideology and motives. Which,
everyone was saying that, rightfully so.
But
everyone across the aisle was going, no, this is politically motivated.
Then in saying that, though, wouldn't Charlie Kirk's death also be classified as a terrorist attack?
They were trying that, but I think the issue is elected representative as well, which Charlie Kirk obviously wasn't.
Don't get me wrong.
It's much easier to brand it as terrorism because it's against the state, because she represented the UK.
Okay.
Whereas Charlie Kirk is, at the end of the day, just a guy.
Yeah, okay.
Who isn't in politics. It's definitely a politically motivated attack, but I don't think you could call it terrorism.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough.
Probably what I'd go with. I think the state part's the part that makes it terrorism.
I'm only saying that because I know people will bring that up, so I'm just trying to answer the questions.
My 2 cents. If you're more of a probably ask an American legal advisor.
I don't know, because like
also maybe federalism fucks that up. You know, states have different laws, whereas in the UK we just have, especially in England, just English laws.
Yeah, true. And this ended up marking one of the first instances in modern UK history where a far-right extremist was charged under terrorism-related provisions, which is
Just one for the pub quiz.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a bit morbid.
Yeah.
So, of course, after this happened, there was a trial, and the trial was absolutely huge.
It went to Old Bailey, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Old Bailey in London, which is
how you know it's fucked up if it ends up there.
Yeah. The Old Bailey in London is like
the court of the UK.
Yeah. So the trial begins in November 2016, which is like
incredibly quick.
Yeah, I mean,
well, it's the Old Bailey, isn't it? They only take shit that needs to get done. Incredibly
quick. This was now one of the most closely followed criminal proceedings in UK history, which is insane. That's really crazy. Now, the trial, surprisingly, was relatively short. It only lasted 9 days, which is short for a murder trial. Never mind a terrorism. So, Thomas was charged with the murder of Jo, causing GBH, which is grievous bodily harm, with intent to Bernard Kennedy, the 77-year-old that ended up
Section
getting
18,
stabbed.
I think.
Huh?
Section 18 GBH, I think. That's law A-level, coming in clutch.
Oh, that was impressive.
Picking your A-levels, I recommend law. It was good fun, actually.
And possession of a firearm with intent to commit an indictable offence and possession of a dagger. So there's
everything.
Yeah, there's four charges.
You could get sent down for.
Yeah, believe it or not, he pleaded not guilty to all of these charges, which insane. But this was entered on his behalf by the court as he refused to speak
because he was a coward.
He never said a word during this entire trial.
He'll do it, but he'll never back up his actions. He knows what he did.
No. He won't defend it. He just sat there quietly, refusing to give anyone a slither of anything. Not that anyone would have listened anyway, but
it might have helped his case.
It wouldn't.
It would have helped him, but at least in his mind, you go, "Oh, I tried."
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
The prosecutor's central argument was that Thomas Mair deliberately murdered Jo Cox for political and ideological reasons, which. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. Crown prosecutor Richard Whittam.
It's because we didn't prepare our unbranded cola drink for today's episode.
Yeah, no, that's it now. I could do with a little drink. Crown prosecutor Richard Whittam told the jury, quote, "This was a cowardly attack by a man motivated by hate. He attacked a defenceless woman who was represented everything he despised, her compassion, her tolerance, and her belief in equality and unity." And they focused on the fact that this was not a random attack. This was not like a heat of the moment. Yeah. This was a murder that had been planned for months, and they had
this local representative.
Yeah, they had evidence to back that up. They had memorabilia in his house that stood for everything that he was for. You know, this was not a random. This was not some guy having a bad day. This was some guy who was having a shit life. He wanted to do this, and he was going to get
He was proud of doing this.
Oh, yeah, he was proud of doing this. At the trial, they also showed forensic evidence. So obviously you have all the other evidence that we've talked about, but also...
That could obviously just be circumstantial. Mm-hmm. You need something in place.
They also had DNA and forensic evidence, which obviously linked him to the attack, which of course they need anyway. So DNA and blood traces matching Jo Cox was found on Thomas's clothing, his hands, the knife, and the gun. The gun, by the way, that I hadn't mentioned, I feel like you did for a little bit, but the gun was homemade.
Yeah. Like the Shinzo Abe assassination type.
This gun was recovered from his bag and was confirmed by ballistic experts to have been the gun that fired the bullets that killed Jo. And the knife recovered at the scene, bearing both Jo's blood and Thomas's fingerprints. So
this proves that instruction booklet he got from the United States was used.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They also showed at the trial CCTV footage of Thomas stalking Jo as she comes to the library. Now that footage, I'm sure it'll be available online.
It was on the news, absolutely.
Yeah, it's haunting because it was just moments before the attack. Yeah. You can see him standing near the library. And of course they showed his internet search history, which was
at the same library, wasn't it?
I'm going to assume so.
It was his local library.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd assume so. No other sources said anything different, so
yeah, I mean, it could have been Leeds, I imagine, or something.
I could be wrong, but I assume it was the same library. So what about the defence? Because of course, even in trials like this, you need a defence.
Because that's basic democratic.
Yeah.
Standing.
They had very little to nothing to work with as he was refusing to talk. But, you know...
I feel bad for the poor fucker who got given this job.
Oh, my God. And the evidence, obviously, against him was completely undeniable. The defence was led by a man named Russell Fraser, and he raised questions about Thomas's mental health and, of course, tried to use the excuse that his mental health had made him behave the way he did.
He was just throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying...
Whatever would stick. Yeah. But of course, the psychological assessment showed that he knew very fine well what he had done, regardless of his mental health.
And he'd spent months aiding and abetting this prosecution case against him.
So all it took was 90 minutes of deliberation from the jury to return with a unanimous guilty verdict on all of the counts that he was charged with.
90 minutes is quick for a jury, but
if
I'm being real, even that feels long for us.
Sometimes juries take days, weeks, months to deliberate. Like,
I recommend watching 12 Angry Men, if nobody has, if you want an accurate interpretation of jury.
Oh, well, there you go.
And jury deliberation.
You heard it here, folks.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
There you go.
Don't watch the remake. The remake's alright, but don't watch it.
There you finish.
Yeah.
So, on the 23rd of November 2016, Mr. Justice Wilkie sentenced Thomas Mair to a whole life term. Now, do you know how hard it is in the UK to get a whole life order?
Isn't there like 2 women or something ridiculous?
Well, hold on a minute.
Like, that's how rare we're talking. There's less than triple figures, I'm pretty sure.
In the UK, if you get handed... Say you murder someone and you get handed 25 years to life. You serve 25 years in prison for murder. Other charges. I'm not even going to get into that because sometimes you only serve half, whatever. Yeah. So say you murder someone, whatever reason, you get 25 years to life. You serve 25 years and then after that you have a chance of parole. That doesn't mean you're going to get out, but it means you have a chance to...
Good behaviour and all that shit.
To show that you've changed, you've grown as a person, you'd have a chance to be released. That kind of thing. Whole life terms, it's not like in America where you get given...
150 years.
Yeah, you get given 150 years of life without parole, blah, blah, blah. You get a whole life order or whole life tariff, whole life term. There's different names for it. And that means you will never be released from
under no circumstances.
Prison. There have only been 70 whole life orders given out in the UK.
Ever.
Well,
since the modern UK. Obviously, back in like the 1500s. Motherfuckers be getting sent for anything.
Well, that's different because I mean that was when
that's
the death
next
penalty.
Episode.
Oh yeah, very true.
1400s is next episode.
Very, very true.
Leo and Dylan watching this now. That's it.
Shout out to Leo and Dylan. Hey guys.
Find out they're not even watching this episode of it.
So
anyone else called Leo and Dylan could also get a shout out.
So yeah, 70 people in the UK have received a whole life order. 4 of those are women, and do you know who those women are? Myra Hindley.
Is Lucy Letby on there?
Lucy Letby.
I knew Myra Hindley. That's the only 2. That's why I said 2. That was the only 2.
Lucy Letby, Joanna Dennehy, and Rose West.
Oh, Rose West.
Those are the only 4 women that have received a whole life order in the UK.
We'll do videos on any of them, but Lucy Letby, I'm not touching that one.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one either. Oh my God.
It's a bit too ongoing.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that one for a couple of years before I touch that one, maybe. Yeah. I actually did do it. This is completely off topic. I do very much apologise for this, but I did actually do a podcast episode on Lucy Letby, which I regret because now everything else is hitting the fan, so I'm like, holy shit. Anyway, back on topic.
It's worth looking into.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't want to touch that.
No,
we don't want to fuck anything up or be wrong.
So
you don't want to put BBC, for being real.
So in the sentencing remarks, the judge said, quote, "You have affected this country's democracy itself. You murdered not only a mother, a daughter, and a public servant who devoted her life to helping others, and you did so to advance an ideology of hatred that this country has fought against for generations." And I could not agree with that more.
Yeah.
I could not agree with that more. And that is where he
not
will
to,
spend...
not to bring him back up, good old small face here, but Charlie Kirk, like, is the logical opposite of this. Like,
Yeah.
that statement couldn't be said about him. He wasn't
No.
standing for inclusivity and
No.
together we stand stronger. No.
Yeah, I agree. So Thomas Mayer will spend the rest of his life behind bars, rotting away. So enough about that waste of space.
And I think the beauty of this is if you said his name on the street, nobody knows.
That's very, very true.
And that's what he deserves.
That is very true.
This isn't like an Oswald or anything
so
like that.
Enough about that waste of space. Back to Jo Cox and her family and the foundation that she set up. So on June 22nd... The legacy of Jo Cox, of this amazing woman that had her life taken from her so wrongfully.
What, 40 years
41.
old?
She was 41. Leaving behind 2 little babies, like... So, June 22nd, which would have been Jo's birthday, a rally in her memory was held in Trafalgar Square, and the West Yorkshire coroner, Martin Fleming, opened an inquest into Jo's death at Bradford Coroner's Court on June 24th, excuse me, and it was adjourned following a 6-minute hearing, and her body was allowed to be released to her family to make funeral arrangements for Jo. The funeral was a very small and private family affair, which is why I tried to find out where she was buried, and just not for reasons to dox anything, just out of pure curiosity because I didn't know. But
and I imagine it's in her hometown.
Yeah,
there's a memorial
in
Parliament. I know that. I've seen that.
This funeral was held in her constituency.
Yeah,
on the 15th of July with. Despite this affair being only small, only family and close friends being allowed into it, thousands of people were stood outside paying their respects, which is really sweet.
I don't know what notable people were there, but I imagine there would have been some notable. Yeah. There would have been maybe like a Corbyn.
Maybe.
Or like a Princess Kate or something of that ilk.
1 year after her murder, 3 individuals who came to her aid were honoured in the 2017 Queen's Birthday Honours. So Bernard Kenny, the legend himself, was awarded the George Medal, which is given to civilians who exhibit great bravery and... Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
Military honour, but a non-military personnel.
And 2 police officers, PC Craig Nichols and PC Jonathan Wright of West Yorkshire Police, who apprehended and arrested her attacker after he had fled the scene, were awarded the Queen's Gallantry Medal. And soon after the trial, Jo's family launched what is known as the Jo Cox Foundation to continue her mission of promoting unity, kindness and community engagement, and its work centres on 3 pillars. Number 1, building strong communities. Number 2, promoting respectful politics. And number 3, championing a fairer world, which is...
everything she stood for.
Yeah. Everything she stood for.
Everyone should stand for.
And a gorgeous way to remember her, because... absolutely. She was, this charity's big in helping refugees and, promoting and supporting women's rights. And every June, the foundation organises the Great Get Together, which is a nationwide weekend of community events, which includes picnics, street parties, charity runs and gatherings inspired by Jo's message that we share more in common. Now, the more in common phrase is used as like her memorial.
Slogan,
yeah, it's her memorial. So... in May 2017, a memorial designed by her children, which is so sad. This memorial was designed by her young children and it was unveiled in the House of Commons. The unveiling took place at the first Great Get-Together event that the Jo Cox Foundation held and was in the form of a family day at Parliament, which is...
I'm trying to convince Lucy to do that with me when we go to London.
I don't want to
and
visit
she's refusing to go to the House of Commons with me. I want to be in there in the full yellow tracksuit like Ali G. Gotta be a good day out.
And in June 2017, Jo Cox's husband published Jo Cox More in Common, which was a book that talks about the impact of his wife's death on their family, and obviously, but Brendan has since... Brendan? Yeah, his name was Brendan. Or was it Brennan? Brendan?
Mr. Cox.
Mr. Cox. Her husband has gone on to since remarry in June 2023, but he refused to marry without the blessing of his children. His children gave the okay for their dad to, marry again, which is quite sweet. Which is just cute, isn't it? But that is that is the end of that case. That is all the information I have on that case. Do you have any final thoughts?
I don't have any final thought. I mean, we've been quite expressive.
Yeah.
The whole video. Well, audio more. But the legacy's never forgotten.
Oh, no.
She's always brought up in Parliament.
I think
every June it's always memorialised.
I think Jo's message is more important today in the UK than it ever has been because of the state that it's in right now. Like, she is probably turning in her grave at the state of this because we should be ashamed of ourselves, genuinely. This country's so sad.
Her own party won't even honour her.
Yeah.
Fucking scum of a Labour party.
It's just gross. It's just absolutely
if nobody can tell, I have quite a decisive opinion of them. I left them as soon as Starmer was crowned. I'm going to say crowned. That's what he thinks. That's what he thinks of himself.
Yeah, he really
as soon as
does.
Starmer was crowned leader, I fucked them off. And I haven't went back since.
I just think compared to...
I've never voted for them.
No.
I have once. That was council based. So that was...
I just think compared to 2016 politics to 2025 politics, the differences and the similarities are not so far apart.
I think Theresa May would be seen as a radical Labour politician now.
Do you think so?
That's the state we're in now.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching or listening to today's podcast episode. I hope we didn't step on too many toes with this one, but
I mean it's
the
alternative woman and mustache man podcast. It's what else were you expecting?
Yeah, true. But yeah, if you have any podcast ideas, please either send me them over Instagram or leave a little comment on this video. If you would like to follow me on any other social medias, do you want me to put your socials in there?
Yeah, we'll wait a bit for that one.
Okay.
But we have another thanks thing about.
Do we?
But despite only having one episode
500
and what 1.25 mics on hand.
Yeah, 1.25. Yeah, 500 subs. That's crazy. We said that when we started this that
we are filming this on the 18th, so we could maybe be at 510 by the time this comes out.
Yeah, that's very true. We said that when we started this podcast, if we got 500 by Christmas, we'd be happy. And it's not even Halloween yet.
Yeah, I think we were at 300 before we uploaded episode 1. So thank you to the wonderful Dollface community and anyone else.
Yeah, anyone else that decides that they're here for you. That's also pretty good.
Shout out to Leo and Dylan again.
But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to subscribe, please do. But if not, that's also fine because regardless, we'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.